Today, brothers and sisters, we hear in the Gospel for Sunday the story of the rich young man who comes and wants to know how he can enter into the kingdom of heaven and have eternal life. And we've heard this Gospel again and again, and Christ gives a simple and plain answer to keep the commandments. And he goes further and lists all the commandments of the Old Testament, the main commandments, and said, keep these. And this, the young man says, well, I've done this. I've already done this from my youth on up. What else can I do? And this is where this young man kind of falls into a trap of Christ. Christ knows that this young man is not willing to sacrifice for the kingdom of heaven. He knows that this young man is not willing to work for his salvation. It's giving lip service. He's okay with following the commandments because those were easy for him to follow. Since his youth, he was given these commandments and he was instilled with them, and that these are the right virtues to keep. And it was easy for him. He was raised in a good way. He was raised in a nice, wealthy house. He had everything he needed. He never really had to worry about things, life, hardship. It was easy for him to keep these commandments. So Christ gives him an order. If you want to be perfect, sell your possessions and come follow me. And we know what happens. The young man is sorrowful, he's sad, he doesn't want to possess with his possessions. He does not want to sacrifice. He does not want to give something up for Christ. This is what's happening in this gospel today. It's not that the rich, and this is the pondering of the apostles today when Christ says that it's going to be difficult for a rich man to get into the kingdom of heaven, and the apostles ponder about this. And Christ says it's possible. Everything's possible with God. But Christ knows that in order to inherit eternal kingdom, that we have to sacrifice. That we have to leave something of ourselves behind. We can't enjoy an easy life and not expect to get into the kingdom. It's not possible. That's what this gospel is telling us today. And if we contrast this young man to St. Paul, whose epistle we heard in Corinthians, Paul was very humble in saying that I was a persecutor of the church, and I go and I preach the gospel of Christ as I inherited from the apostles, but I don't find myself worthy to be called an apostle because of my sinful life. And he worked twice as hard as any other apostle. He admits it. I sacrificed everything twice as much as all the other apostles because of my sinful ways, because I needed to make recompense. I needed to sacrifice more. And by the grace of God, I'm called an apostle. Christ calls him an apostle. Christ had a plan for him. And Paul knew what he had to do. He had to give his life over to Christ. He had to leave something on this earth behind. And it was a life full of hardship. A life lived for Christ and Christ alone. And that's why by the grace of God, he's an apostle. He's an apostle is equal to St. Peter, who is the head of the apostles. They were equal because of what he offered to Christ in his conversion. And so when we contrast these two stories today, well, it's not a story, but Paul and his life and what he says about himself in preaching the gospel, and this rich young man, we contrast it and we see the big difference. There's a willingness to leave something on this earth for Christ, to give our life for Christ. And it often comes, brothers and sisters, I'm sorry to say it, with hardship. It takes sacrifice. And in our own lives, when we contemplate on how we live our lives, oftentimes we don't want to do the hard thing. This is the truth. We don't want to sacrifice. We don't want to do the things in the name of Christ that He asks us to do because it would cause discomfort in our lives, potentially. It would cause us to not be in a state of position that society tells us to go seek happiness and fulfillment in possessions, and in family, and in job security, and in friends. This is what our society tells us, right? Well, our only fulfillment is in Christ. And then if we're going to follow Christ, we have to leave something behind. We have to cut ourselves off from things. This is the truth of the gospel, brothers and sisters. This is what the cross is for each of us. We'll celebrate the exaltation of this cross in a few weeks. But this is what it means to be a Christian. It means to sacrifice. It means to give of ourselves, to give more of ourselves than we know that we can give. But by the grace of God, as Paul says, we will be given even a better blessing, a greater blessing. Paul, the greatest persecutor of the church in the early church, now an apostle. How great for us too, brothers and sisters, us sinful folks. Us too, we can have an exalted title before the Lord, just like St. Paul, if we are willing to sacrifice, if we're willing to do those things that we don't want to do. This goes counter to society. This goes counter to many, many Christian denominations that would say opposite, that we can seek a life of fulfillment and prosperity on this earth, and that we can use our God to do it. It's false. It's a false gospel. Christ died for us to cleanse us of our sins, and so that we may be followers of Him, and so that we may ascend on the cross just like Him in our own way. That's the gospel. But He'll exalt us in the end, brothers and sisters. In the kingdom of heaven, as the young man was searching for, we will have the greatest rewards. And this is what our mind should always focus on every day, is the kingdom of heaven. We can give credit to this young man for that alone, for him seeking out the kingdom of heaven. He wasn't willing to do what it took to get there. But we should all think about it and try to apply what Christ said here. If you want to be perfect, leave that which you are possessed by. Now what you have in possession of you, which possesses you, by, and come follow me. In the name of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.